Can you really wait an entire month to find out who the murderer is in one of those OTT murder shows that want to drive you mad by releasing one episode a week? And it takes forever. It takes a month and a half till you find out what the ending really is. And I can't wait. I go completely mad. So as a result, I don't watch it week by week. I wait till the very end, and then I spend about 8 or 9 hours in bed watching it with the requisite companion, which is salted pista and a peanut butter milkshake. And what happens is I'm lying down and I'm really enjoying myself, and I don't notice, at what point, my spine starts, feeling a little stiff, starts feeling a little, as if I've been stuck in the same position for hours and hours. But I, I really don't notice it much. I don't give it a second thought. It's normal. But then a couple of months ago, a lady who comes home to give me a massage, she sort of tapped on my back, the way one would knock on a door. Although these days we don't even knock on doors. But she did tap on my back and she said, your muscles are weakening there on my upper back. And she said, I'm not a doctor, but as somebody who's been massaging people for so many years, I have noticed that this sort of weakening of muscles does eventually lead to spinal issues. So I said, well, thank you very much for pointing that out. And, I didn't give it a second thought again, because I wasn't having any active issue with it. And I kept on, binge watching my TVs and, writing my stories. It's nice to have a nice cushion to lie back on. It just helps me feel comfortable. And then again, the masseuse came and she said the same thing. And then I started thinking, that, hang on. I know that the way I'm sitting and the way I'm doing these things is not exactly recommended for spinal health. But how do I even stop it? How on earth do I consciously make that choice to keep my spine well aligned? Because half the time I don't even know it's there. This is Sonali Acharji, and you are listening to Health Wealth, a podcast that wants to help inform you about your well being, but also leave you feeling very motivated to look after yourself. Because the point is, there is no judging or shaming or forcing when it comes to health. It is ultimately your choice. And as long as you make an informed choice, that's fine, and I'm not going to judge you because I'm just like you. I understand that no matter how many times doctors say, cancer rates are going up, diabetes is going up, I'm still not going to sit at home and give up my modern lifestyle. I would still choose to go out with my friends than go to the gym. And, maybe 8 out of 10 times I'll say no to a jalebi, but I can't say no all 10 times. It's deep fried dough and sugar. Who says no every single time? So I am human, and so are you. And we're not going to be absolutely perfect when it comes to our well being. But whatever choices we make, it should at least be factually well informed. And so, coming back to today's topic, we'll be talking about posture and your spinal cord. And I think whenever it comes to anything to do about health, there are two groups that exist. One is the doomsday cult, where everyone will say, we're doomed. By the time you're 60, you're going to be having a stoop and you'll have titanium in your knees and you will not be able to lift up your children or grandchildren because, that's what the lifestyle is. You hardly walk straight and it's invariably going to lead to issues. And then you have the everything doctors say is bullshit faction, where people are constantly saying, oh, it's just hospitals trying to get money off you. Everything is fine. You live only once. You have to enjoy your life. Don't get, so involved in looking after yourself. I want to be in the middle. I want to find that balance between doing too much and doing too little, have a very balanced, well rounded approach to every organ and every condition of my body. And I find that particularly difficult when it comes to my spine. And that's exactly why I started the way I did, is half the time I don't notice it. It's not active, it's not sensory. If something goes into my eye, I'll go immediately and wash it out and, then go to an eye doctor. Or at least I hope you'll go to an eye doctor. Please don't try to take out things from your eyes with tweezers. But or for example, if my digestion is off, I'm going to know immediately that there's something wrong with my stomach. The spine doesn't seem to give me much indication that something is going wrong, at least in the short term. Or if it does, I'm completely unaware of it. So I take it for granted. Just like I do with my mummy's cooking and sparrows and my friend who calls me up at 2 a.m. on a Sunday night. I'm just used to them. I'll only miss them when they're gone. And that's the thing with the spine. And the second dilemma I always face is that I don't know how to take care of my spine. Somebody online will say you have to be straight. Some people say you should be a little slouch because the spine is curved. And then you have all this paraphernalia in the market. You have those braces for your spine. You have, chairs designed to support your spine. And then you even have, a friend told me that there's certain types of shirts which you wear and, you have to put your shoulders back because if you slouch, then it just shows a whole lot of cleavage. She says it's for the spine. I think it's to get the right kind of attention. But, things have multi-purpose uses, and I wouldn't want to judge anyone for how they choose to look after their spine. But I did have this issue where I seriously do not fully understand how to care for my spine and how to know if there is a problem happening with my spine. And I thought, let's get somebody here today who will guide us through health of the spine, but also the power and the beauty of this beautiful column of bones, which is actually the reason why, we're not monkeys and we're walking upright. And it's a beautiful part of our body, and we really don't talk about it enough. So I have with us today Dr. Vishal Pishativar, who is the head of spinal surgery at Kokila Bain Dhirubhai Ambani Hospital in Bombay. And he's agreed to talk about the spine with us today. How are you, sir?
Hi, good evening. I'm
Good
glad to
evening.
be on this show and thank you for having me here.
Thank you for your time. I know it's OPD hours, but I really appreciate you taking this time out. You know, um, for me, the spine actually has a slightly spiritual meaning as well. Because I know that, once the funeral pyre um, in Hindu burials is over, a piece of the spinal column usually remains, and then you pray to it, and and you submerge it in the befitting manner. And every time I've seen it, I always feel like, wow, that beautiful bone survives even Agni. It feels so powerful to me, and yet that's the only time I think I have a spine. The rest of the time, it's there somewhere. It's the last thing I think about. So can you tell us today what is the spine?
So, spine typically, like you have beautifully put it before in your introduction, this what differentiates us from the rest of the animals and monkeys is that we can stand straight on it and go. So, somewhere from ninth to 12th month of our life, we find our spine, as they say, and then that keeps us going till the ninth or 10th decade of our life. That's the average lifespan that people are seeing now. So, spine is the one thing that connects your intelligence, that's your brain, to the rest of your body. And it is the one thing that acts like a conduit between your thoughts and actions. So, any disruption in this can be disastrous. And a healthy spine will actually make you live your life in a really uh, how to say the way it's supposed to be lived. Life is, like I said, lived only once. It should be lived to the fullest. There's no point in going through life from point A to point B. It should never be A to Z. It can always be somewhere in between, back, reverse, and all. So, to enjoy a good life, to go on a trek, to work properly, to enjoy a sporting activity, to go on a trek with your grandchildren, to pick up your grandchild, and to play football with your son, you need a very strong spine. And uh, over a period of time, as medicine has improved and people have started living longer, so I'm in the fifth decade of my life. So when we were kids, in Maharashtra, in 60 years, you used to call everybody you knew and give them a meal because 80% of the population was dead by that time. But today, like 60 is young.
Yeah.
We, in our residency 30 years back, we were told that patient is 60 years old, he's lived his life, so don't bother too much. Today, we operate up to 95-year-old people, and people expect a quality of life. Even if I live 30, I want to live 30 to the fullest. If I live 90, then I want to still be mobile. So spine is one thing that will keep you upright and mobile and doing things you would want to do.
Yeah. And, you know, the thing is, whenever you think of the spine, you think of standing straight. It's this, completely, needle like straight, column. But it's meant to be curved, isn't it?
So, to balance, nature has
Mm.
made certain curves in the body where you have a curve that goes to the front in the neck, that there is a curve that goes to the back in the upper back, and in the lower back, you have a curve again that mirrors the neck curve. So, this keeps your head on the center of your pelvis. So these are the lordosis and kyphosis, as they say. These are balancing curves because in a straight line, weight bearing would be very, very rough. So this is nature's way of kind of
That's
being.
fascinating.
So there is a bunch of
Yeah.
bones. You have 23 odd discs inside. So these discs work like shock absorbers between two hard bones, which are in turn protecting the spinal column, which is the main conduit of all functions of the brain. All your thought process is brought into action by your hands and legs by the signals sent through this, and the whatever data your leg, soul, and hands are giving is taken to the brain. It analyzes and then acts accordingly. So this conduit, very important, is protected by this. So it has to be rigid. At the same time, it has to be flexible. So to get both things on board, nature has made it such that it has its curves and balances to make it more shock absorbing structure. So you can jump from a height, you can run without a jarring effect on that. So it's not a crooked spine, but it's a naturally aligned spine that we have. It also aligns with your hip, with your knee, with your ankle. So what we call as a mechanical axis of the human body.
Yeah, actually, I find life is so complex but so beautiful. And the fact that you know, firstly, just to be born and just to have a planet which supports life is such a miracle, and then you have this, powerful evolution. That's amazing. Are we born with a naturally aligned spine? Like, is it something you have to
No.
teach, or you
So
just
this is something
get
you're
born?
probably born with a spine that looks like a C, and as you strengthen over the first 9 to 12 months of your life, that's when you start taking your first steps. You start getting the balance, and as you walk, your knees also go through a different alignment. So as you start walking, by the first 2 3 years, the curves are mature, and by about 4 or 5 years, I think you get a proper curve that you should have because by that time your knees aligned well, your hips are, and then you start skeletally maturing. So the first
Mhm.
couple of years, your spine goes through different positions according to how you walk. To a normal walk, when you start walking normally, you get all the curves aligned there.
Yeah. And, one of the things which, is highly, highly talked about online, and I'm never sure what's correct. But when you're standing to have good posture for spinal health, what is the way? Are you supposed to put your shoulders back, your hips front, your knees right? What is it? I,
So
I
see,
tried doing those YouTube videos and I feel I'll fall down only.
so posture changes with age.
Yeah.
So your posture in your teens, your 20s and 30s is going to be much more straight, rigid up. And as you start aging, your bone quality goes down, your muscle quality goes down. You will get a slight stoop. Now, we can't stop aging. That's the rule of nature. Everybody is going to grow up, plateau, and then deteriorate. Now, people have a lot of opinions, but the thing is, if you have a strong uh, musculature supporting and the quality of bone is good, then you will actually stand in what is called stomach rolled in, chest puffed out, and your chin tucked in. That will give you an alignment where you're in line and walking straight. Having said it, you can't walk around just like that. You will have to
Mhm.
change your posture. A lot of things have gone bad after sitting has evolved for humanity. So that's where the posture crumbles. And then, of course, as life gets easier, I mean, what it was, say, 30 years back. Today, we are in a much more, our children are living a more convenient life than what we lived. We would walk to school, we would walk to college. They'd probably ride a vehicle or a school bus to that.
Mm-hmm.
We would climb up stairs, they will take a lift. So, as life gets better, the exercise quotient has gone down. So, a lot of core strengths and all. If you see the femoral diameter, the thigh bone, it was much more denser 100 years back than it's now. Because 100 years back, our ancestors would put in more weight on it. So it was nature wanted it to be strong. Today, we don't put that much stress. So the human body has evolved such that it will keep you strong enough for the demands you make out of it.
Yeah. Um, Tell me something. We were talking about the correct spinal alignment when you're standing. What about when you're sleeping? Because that is also something which is very common in very young people also. You just wake up with a stiff neck, or some shoulder hurts, or so
So
on and so forth.
So positions, there can be, it is multifactorial. It will take this. So what happens with your spinal alignment? So pain can be because of an improper mattress. It can be an improper pillow, or it can be what you did the previous day or the day before in your working time that has led to a sore neck. So if you wake up with a neck pain, uh, like we see a lot of people using a very very soft mattresses or water beds, or insisting on sleeping on very hard mattresses. So extremism on either side is bad. The middle path, like you said, is a better way to choose.
Mm-hmm.
So you should have a firm but not hard mattress.
Mm-hmm.
You should have a small pillow. It should not be very big. If you take a big pillow and kind of bend, so as you age, because your posture goes like that, you tend to
Yeah.
add pillows to make it more comfortable. But that's counterproductive. You get fixed in that position one, and
Mm.
it is going to. So if you hold something close to your body, you'll probably hold it for 10 minutes to 30 minutes. The moment you push it forward, it's that weight by displacement. The stress increases on your shoulder. Similarly, your head is about 7.5 to 10 kilos when it is straight. If you're bent like that, you're actually putting 50 to 60 kilos on your shoulder. So by end of the day, it is sore. You feel tight, and it weaks, and it gets weak, and it starts getting painful. So your posture matters. So most likely your pain the next day morning came out of poor posture on your work day before than your
You're
mattress.
sleeping.
However, as we travel more and more, I mean, you keep
Mm.
going. So hotel
Mm.
mattresses can be
Mm.
very springy, which you're not used to. So they can be the reason. Heavy duty lifting, which you're not used to, and heavy duty forward bending can be one of the most common causes for a sore neck that comes through.
Yeah. I think the idea of luxury and comfort is so powerful, no? I mean, if I see a giant white clean pillow with goose down feathers, I want 10 of them. I want to sink into them. It's so alluring. And that's why, I think these conversations are so important to make you aware, because you're just not thinking physically, right? You're not thinking, is that good for my spine? You just want to collapse in that, soft pillow and sleep and
True.
add more to it. So apart from posture and your bone well-being, does muscle mass and nutrients, does that play any role in
Absolutely.
spinal health?
Absolutely. So I always give this example to my patients. Like if you have a door,
Mm.
and if you're opening it up with a bang and closing it up with a bang and jerking it all the time, it's going to collapse in a year's time. But if you are proper and opening it in a proper controlled manner, it will probably last you a decade. Similarly, your spine and joints, if you have muscles that are strong, they will control the movement properly. So the chances of them injuring are less. So it will last you longer. A muscle is like the engine of the car. If you have a powerful engine, it's going to take it much more ahead in much difficult circumstances. So if you have strong muscles, you can live with a bad back. But if you have weak muscles, you
You
can't live with
can't.
a good back.
Mm.
So you need good, strong muscles. They will pull you through all the wear and tear that your spine undergoes.
Yeah. If I have to give up my relaxing TV time and do spinal exercises and spinal yoga, and if I have to, be conscious of my spine while watching, my murder OTTs, and Selena Gomez is trying to solve a mystery and I have to suddenly like go straight in the middle of it. I need to know the stakes here. I need to understand what is in store for me if I don't do this. That sort of incentive to look after it. So tell me, does an incorrect spinal posture, I mean, okay, fine. The spine will hurt and so on. But what is the impact that it has on other joints? Joints which I know are critical for me, like my shoulder, my knees, those matter. I know them, right out, right there. So does the spine end up, messing up your other joints if,
So
the posture is bad?
it goes both ways. So your knees, if they're bad, can really mess up your spine because your that waddling gait. You see a lot of people with badly worn out knees and hold on to getting their knees replaced to the last movement, including my mom, because she feels something is going to happen and I'm never going to walk. In that, they end up damaging their spine because the posture is not good. Similarly, spine controls all the nerves to your legs and hands. So if there's a problem in your spine and that nerve is weak, your joints are going to deteriorate much faster because the prime movers of the joints are muscles, which are going to get weaker with the nerves not being in correct position or rather in correct state of health. So it
Hmm.
is a mutually beneficial thing to keep them all healthy. And
Yeah.
I missed one point what you said about nutrition. It's extremely important. So, see, everybody loves to have a pizza or maybe go and have a pani puri and
Jalebi, jalebi. That's the thing, sir.
so jalebis and everything. So once in a while, it's
Yes.
okay, but it cannot be all the time. You cannot just have jalebi for food. Similarly, uh, once in a while, to not do exercises, to let go, lounge around, and indulge yourself is fine. But you can't do it all the days. There have to be 4 to 5 days in a week where you look after your spine. You spend that extra hour to do your exercise, not just the spine, in general for your body, so that it lasts you for the lifetime you're going to live.
Hmm.
You take the weekend off or you take one of the days off in between, that's different. So we have a simple rule: every 45 minutes you sit, you should get up for 5 to 10 minutes, so that gives your back some time to get back to its normal position. That's for normal people. It's not even for people with back pain. So in fact, in one of the software companies, there are a bell that rings every 45 minutes. Everybody from the CEO to the janitor has to get up and free the back, and that simple bell brought down the spine pain incidence by 90%. So that's how it should be about.
Yes, as individuals, we can do our thing, but it's also the entire environment around us, workplaces and the roads and the you know uh, hotels,
Yeah.
like you said. Everyone has to play a role in
Agree. So there are certain
inculcating good
things, yeah, I
posture.
agree. Certain things that we can control. We can't control our infrastructure. That is that is a different matter totally. Office hours are getting longer, but then always one thing to remember, that if you fall ill or you are incapable, your HR will find somebody to replace you in 15 seconds.
Yes, I
You don't
agree.
have that choice in, and your near dear ones don't have that choice in life. So the prioritization is very important. What will happen if I don't go to office? That should be, yes, that's important, but that's not the first thing. What will happen to me is the first thing that you should remember. When me becomes a priority, that's when you start looking after yourself.
Yeah.
Infrastructure wise, yeah, India, we do lag behind. As a developing country, our roads could be better, our trains could be better. Until they are not okay, people still have individual transport. So prolonged sitting, one of the worst times in Mumbai is the rains with the potholes. And
Mm.
now with the metro work going, the perpetual jams. I mean, I live in reasonable luxury because of the infrastructure that is there, because there's so many patients who come out of just, oh, doc, I went over a couple of potholes, now my back is this thing. Other thing
Potholes
is,
can do that to your back.
yes, the jerk that you get,
Oh,
majority,
the impact.
yeah, impact. So see, a majority of population between 20 to 40 travels on two-wheelers.
Mm.
For every car on the road, there are 10 two-wheelers. So that 10 versus 1 ratio in a car, your shock absorber are a little better. A bike on Mumbai roads is really bad. The amount of stop, start whiplashes you get on the neck, the
Mm.
continuous potholes and the jarring effect on the lower back is really bad. So that is
Yeah.
something we don't look at. Other thing is the nutritional angle. What
Mm.
happens is people used to do a lot of exercises. Even if they are vegetarian, the food quality was good.
Mm.
Today, you buy your vegetables on a Saturday, sort them, dice them, and on a Sunday, and then eat it throughout the week. Then again, it's on the weekend. It's not that every day you go to the bazaar and get fresh veggies. One. Second thing is the quality of food intake has gone up. People are having more cold drinks. Cold drink, when I was growing up, was a luxury. I grew up in a small industrial township, so to have a cold drink was twice a year effect. Today,
Mm.
my son would probably drink it every day. So that phosphoric
And
acid
it
in
does eat into your bones, doesn't
yes,
it?
that
Oh,
phosphoric
yeah.
acid 1% that's used as a stabilizer
Mm.
actually chelates all the calcium. So your bones are going to be of poor quality. It gives you 9 spoons of sugar per helping. So
Yeah.
that has already made obesity and a other thing is the quality of nutritional value that you get in majority. People, you see a lot of people having snacks and chips and all. So where's the nutrition gone? So you would have a jalebi as a kid once in a month. Today, people have it every day. It's a desert. Desert nahi hai to khana nahi hota. So, what were luxuries have become the same. Other thing is then, I'm not against veganism. My wife is a complete vegan, but when you're vegan, it's very expensive to be on a
Mm.
healthy vegan diet.
It
So, for
is.
those who are not, should see that they have adequate protein because
Mm.
proteins are very essential for your muscle makeup. And second thing, they're important for calcium transport in the body.
Yeah.
Albumin is a vehicle on which calcium travels throughout the body. So you
Mm.
need that. So we have in India an epidemic of hypoalbuminemia. So we have low albumin levels in majority of the people, even the non-vegetarians, because our
Mhm.
food is carbohydrate heavy. So if you're vegan, you need, or if you are vegetarian, you need to get your diet sorted. That
Mm.
you don't have protein deficiency. That's also
Yeah.
extremely important for bone health.
Yeah. Actually, I have a couple of nephews and nieces now, and they love having Pringles and Maggie and Coke all the time. And you tell them, and they know it's bad for them also, but it becomes like this nagging, whining thing. Ha, pata hai, like we know, but then they're stressed, they've had some romantic failure or, problems with school, and you just turn to that nice little packet of hot chips. But when I started telling them exactly what's in them, like proper in detail, like this, this acid will do that to your bones. Suddenly, every time they took a sip, they felt like the acid was going into their bones and nahi khana ye, I want nimbu pani now. So it does, this information helps so much. So apart from musculoskeletal health and posture, and your spine, because I think that is still something you can still link together. Your spine is wrong, your joints might get, injured, or the health might suffer. But there are studies which are linking poor posture to a variety of other things. So I'm just going to briefly ask you, and maybe you could just give a brief explanation how that happens. But does poor posture lead to digestive issues?
Yes. So what happens with your posture? If your posture is poor, you're going to stoop
Mm.
down. You stoop down, your chest goes into your abdomen. So that cramps up the abdomen space. So you're always dyspeptic, you feel gassy, your
Mm.
digestion is gone for a toss, you get a lot of reflux. So poor posture definitely affects your digestion. And the fact that you have poor posture, it means your physical activity levels are very low.
Mm.
And that
And
in just so
sorry, no, please go ahead.
that itself is something that will affect your digestion.
Yeah. And headaches and migraines, because that's something, I've heard doctors say multiple times that you don't realize poor posture and migraine.
So in today's age where everything is on a cell phone, so I mean, I rarely carry my laptop anymore. Everything is
Mm.
done by my phone. So all
Mm.
of us are like immerse. It's an immersive experience. That was the advertisement 20 years back when they were launched the
Mhm.
smartphones. And now everybody's got literally immersed into their phones. Their life is the phone. People are like instead of straight, they are all bent. So what you would see a posture in say a 50-year-old, you're already seeing that in a 19 or 20-year-old. So they
Mm.
are, and alarmingly so, even my parents in their 80s, they watch their TV serials on the phone. Nobody watches the television anymore. They're all on their phone. Everybody wants to
Yeah.
watch something else and whatever. So that posture that you do is something that is going to be going to extract a very heavy price. What
Mm.
happens with the upper neck, especially
Mhm.
the cervical too, is what supplies the
Mm.
behind of your head.
Mm,
So by being like this movement, 90% of it is happening at the first two bones in the spine. And
mm,
that is eventually going to come and bite you as arthritis. And
yeah.
that is going to cause more headaches, is going to cause more. So there is more neck pain because of poor posture than actually a real cause, a
Mm,
pathological cause. And by the time it becomes pathological, it's already surgical. So you
mm.
need to start taking preventive actions for that.
Yeah, once I'd gone on a trek in Dharamshala and it was with a local guide. And I was running out of breath very quickly. I was hardly walked a little bit. And I'm like, what is this? I go to the gym, I work out. This is not fair. Why am I getting tired? I should have energy. And he said something very interesting. He said, do you see how you're walking, how your spine is? Aapki blood circulation is only kharab. So if your blood is not circulating well, then how will you have that stamina of good oxygen supply when you're walking up, these mountains? Is that true? Is there a link between that?
So that's a very different and long kind of thing. But a couple of things
Mm,
on that. See, when you go to the gym, our
mm.
idea of a gym body is to have a six pack and a muscle and those
And
60.
to get Instagram likes. So that's
True.
the whole idea.
So being fit
Yes.
and being chiseled are two different things. So if you're going to lift weights, you're going to have muscles that are hypertrophied. That's good to look at. But is that stamina? You ask him to run. A gymmer will never be able to run a marathon. And a marathoner will never have a chiseled feature like that. And so when somebody's trekking, first thing is, especially at Dharamshala level, is altitude.
Mm,
You are staying in Mumbai at sea level and you're trekking at 5,000 feet. So the oxygen requirement for a mountaineer, somebody who's been staying there, their hemoglobin is higher. The body has adjusted to the low oxygen tension. You haven't. So there are actually altitude chambers that make you used to high altitude walking. Second thing is, when you gym, you have to look after both your cardio as well as muscle building exercises. So when you focus on both, is you'll get your optimal health. It's not just I see a lot of patients, oh doc, I go to the gym, I do so much weight and I've been doing that and I still busted my back. So wear and tear is going to catch you.
yeah.
So you don't have to wear yourself out faster. Being fit and being chiseled are two different things, and
Yeah.
I think the two will never meet.
Yeah. And tell me a bit about depression and mental health issues because there has been some, I don't know how good this research is, but there have been some studies which point towards a link between poor spinal posture and mental health issues.
So there's far more tension, neck and back pain than headache. People have this common misconception: if you're stressed or if you're anxious, you'll get a headache. No,
Mm,
you're more likely to get a neck pain, you get a upper back or a lower back pain, and more of it is a spasm, protective spasm. You're like just
mm,
freezing up over that. So in an outpatient department today in the morning, we saw about two or three people who were completely driven nuts, got MRIs done. So any person above 30, you do an MRI, you're going to find some problem. There is nobody in Mahabharata. They used to say the Shampurna Purush is Krishna and Arjun, and everybody else has is not complete. Similarly, there is nothing like a normal MRI. You're always going to find some stressors. So this one lady and two gentlemen, oh, I got this, I got this problem. So all of us, even I have a couple of worn out discs, so that they are going to be there. Stress is always reflected. Your brain has cannot differentiate between dil ka dard and sharir ka dard. But treatment for both are different. This is something that
mhm,
our psychiatrist, Dr. Shaunak, told us.
mhm,
Ki physical pain medicine worsens mental pain. So you have to differentiate and be able to pick that up and see that the treatment doesn't go wrong. So
yeah.
stress in today's modern lifestyle with less people, less friends. I mean, we had a band of friends. We still meet up. My
Mhm,
son barely has any because they are all virtually there online. If you have to meet, they'll meet on their Google meeting or they'll meet on a Zoom meeting. These are school kids, okay? He's in 12th standard and he's been doing that for the past two, especially after the pandemic. People have become more secluded. So the
yeah.
venting is not there. And other thing is, of course, because of the pandemic, the health, um, people have started getting lazy. which has then translated into depressions and then lassitude and okay, I don't want to go out. I
Mm-hmm.
Zomato, Swiggy पे खाना आता है तो restaurant का weekend जाना भी बंद हुआ है. So we started getting lazier. We started getting more depressed. All of it is reflecting in your spine health.
Yeah.
Like as much as people don't want to say it, a lot of neck and back pain is also depression and anxiety.
You were talking about the pandemic, and I think sometimes we completely forget what our bodies have gone through. You know, I have that problem even now. I find it so weird, but it's taken me years to get back into sitting outside again. It's become so comfortable indoors. It's like you just it's been a shock to the system, and there's been nobody who's gently eased us back into, you know, an open world. It I'm pretty sure my body has had some you know, consequences as a result of that. Now that we've talked about all that can go wrong with because of your posture, I'd also like to talk a little bit about the hope that medicine offers us today. I know we've come a long way in terms of treatment for spinal issues. Um, can we talk about the most well-known spinal issue, which is a slip disc? Can you tell us how has treatment for slip discs improved?
So, slip disc, fortunately, is a disease that is self-limiting in up to 95 to 96% people. So, every 100 people who have a slip disc, 95% are going to get okay on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Only 4% to 5% end up requiring an intervention. So, that's a big because most majority of the population, 90% of the population, if they have not had, is going to have back pain in their lifetime. Is that common? Uh, so initially, so when we started off way back, my residency was in 95. The treatment for slip disc was you keep a patient in bed for 6 months or you put traction. All this has been thrown out because there's no evidence to back it up. In fact, it worsens if not improves the posture. Other thing is the incidence of slip disc has gone up in the younger population because of sitting. We moved from a manufacturing economy to a service economy. So where more jobs are there, where you're sitting in an office and talking or doing your work than standing in a factory. Sitting is as bad as smoking for your back. So we have this whole epidemic of slip disc. So there's a lot of software and call centers where we would see more and more of slip discs coming in. Majority of them, yes, you give painkillers, you rest them, and once the pain is gone, you do physiotherapy, you build up the muscle so that the muscle shares the load of the spine and the disc sorts itself off. If it doesn't respond, then we give injections in the spine, what are called as epidurals. So instead of taking a pill that's going to spread all over your body, you it's like a smart bomb. You just go and inject the medicine around the slip disc so that the pain control effect is only there locally. It's much more profound, but at the same time, the side effects are less. Then, of course, with like our TV has changed, like our cars have changed over 3 decades, even surgeries changed. We used to take, my boss used to say, big surgeons take big incisions. Today is the reverse, like the
Small,
big
yeah.
surgeons take
Yeah.
smaller incisions. So now we have endoscopes, we have very advanced microscopes, we have exoscopes. So essentially, what happens is they enhance your vision. What you're seeing is 1x. So you can bring it up to 6x, 10x. So you can see everything clearly. And then the chances of injuring essential structures is less. Also, the exposure required to reach a bad part is less. So it's like you could cut open the stomach, take out the appendix, or put in a small 6 millimeter scope and take it out. Endpoint of both surgeries is same. But in an endoscopy, you don't have a stomach that's cut open and the complications coming from that. So even in spine, we have endoscopy, we have tubular discectomies, we have microdiscectomies. So this has changed the way. In fact, there are athletes who've gone back to playing Olympic level sports in wrestling, in tennis, in cricket. After successful spine surgeries, we have patients who run marathons. We have patients who were paralyzed who have gone back to running half a marathon. So things have improved.
The next question or the next thing I'd like to talk to you about, I'm going to be somebody who has woken up today with pain in my shoulder and the pain's gone away. And but this happened again, you know, a week before. It came, it went away. Then say 2 months ago, there was pain in my lower back. It came and it went away. You know, should I go to a doctor? That's part one. And part two, one of the reasons a lot of people don't go is because they're terrified of finding out something is wrong, or finding out that something is wrong but might not be wrong, and then somebody else says it is wrong, and you get confused in all the opinions and so on, and that keeps people away. So tell me a little bit about diagnosis for this kind of ache. Like, how will you diagnose me, and then how can treatment go? And that the fact, are all spinal problems immediately surgery linked? Because that's again another reason people don't go. They're terrified of surgery.
So, the only reason for an immediate surgery is paralysis or loss of control of urination or bowels,
Mm-hmm.
or your inability to walk more than a couple of minutes. So, those would be where you would do a very early surgery. So, but it's like this, like a known enemy is always better than an unknown enemy.
Yeah.
So, where resources are constrained, they would the first in Europe, you would go to a GP who would give you
Mm-hmm.
painkillers. So, out of 190 would who had simple spine problems would get dropped away. But those 10 who didn't have those simple spine problems would suffer because they would have a lag in their treatment. So, if your pain is intense, if it is accompanied by any numbness, tingling, pins and needle sensation, if it is limiting your activities of daily living, and if it is repetitive, if you have got one or two episodes in the past and it's come for the third time, it is always prudent to see a doctor. We are not a country where you can't reach a spine surgeon or a neuro or an orthopedic surgeon immediately. We are a country where you can probably see the most busy one in a week or two's time.
Mm-hmm.
So you should, and it doesn't cost as much. So,
Mm-hmm.
especially in tier 1 and 2 cities, take an opinion. Be sure it is benign. 90% of people who walk into my OPD have nothing. They need reassurance, activity modification, and some physiotherapy, and they're fine. 10% who have severe things, majority unfortunately come, oh, we tried some alternative therapy, we tried dieting, we tried acupressure, but now I can't get up from my bedroom to go to the toilet, so I've come. So these are the ones who will have very poor results because you've come at a very late stage. So you should never wait. It is
Mm-hmm.
always better, if you think your doctor is conning you, you should take a second opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So, we can immediately get a second opinion, know whether it's for sure or not. Today with Google, you can actually get online opinions, and there's so many things that you can, true kind of good websites that you can approach. The Spine Society of India has a website. The North American Spine Society has a website where you can check whether what you have been told is really true or not. So you should use these resources. You should never, if your car starts making a noise, do you wait for it to break down? No, you go and show
Yeah.
a mechanic. Your body is much more precious. You can change the
Mm-hmm.
part of a car, you can change the car. You can't do that for yourself.
Yeah.
Always, I mean, if it recurs and if it's bad enough, you should take an opinion.
Yeah. No, I think the thing with health is we hear it so often. It's in the news. It's there are podcasts on it, and you start disassociating from it. It starts becoming something that's something else. It's out of you. You don't realize that health is you. It's you're
Absolutely.
not looking after something else. You're literally, there's nothing about you which is not related to health. Things like, social media or your job or your family, even, they're actually not you, but health is completely you. And when you
Yeah.
take ownership of it, that's when you do these things.
A lot of it is also fear, especially
Mhm.
amongst the seniors. So the fear of what, see, it was very invasive and very barbaric 4 decades back, surgery in itself. Today, it's not like that. Things have changed with technology coming in. So, we used to, when we started putting screws in the back, the first time we did it was 95. And we remember, like for 4 screws, it took us 4 hours to X-ray karo, CM mein dekho. Today, we don't have to worry. We have navigations and robots who do that for us in less than 5 minutes. The cut is like 1 centimeter and you're walking in the same day evening. So a lot of it, I mean, it's difficult to convince educated people. They feel like, oh, somebody got operated that many times and
Yes.
he's become completely paralyzed. I
Yes.
have one thing to them. So we travel on the roads. There's so many
Mhm.
accidents you see. Have we stopped traveling? So there is always going to be a percentage of people where there are complications or where there is a problem. But just because one person got bad doesn't mean 99% should suffer for that. So
Yeah.
you take your precautions, search for proper places, experience hands, and things should be okay. Don't wait for the point where things are so bad that, okay, now nothing can be done, which is unfortunately a lot we see now.
Yeah. No, actually, surgery has had so much of bad press. It is terrifying. Although I myself have gone single all by myself for a surgery and walked out, and it was absolutely fine. I didn't feel anything. So I actually don't even know why it's such a big, it's almost like a festival when you go to a surgery, 10 people waiting outside, six people, on a call, and then, find out who the guard is for the ICU. So, you can convince him to let you in before, before the doctor comes. It's like a whole tamasha happens. And I am just like, it's just patient and doctor. Why does all this need to exist? So I never tell anyone. I just go and do it. And that's it.
Yeah,
And I find
I
it's the
agree
easiest.
totally. So my wife required a surgery, and
Mm,
when we got it done, it was her sister who came in. I was there.
mhm.
That's it. We didn't
Yeah,
get her parents involved. My parents involved. My son was told, "Okay, wait." She came back in 2 days. He said, "Are you serious? You got an operation done?" Or
yeah.
that's how it is. In India, it becomes a kind of festival for every
It is.
occasion.
And then the flowers come. And then I remember this really, like, I find it so amazing. I won't give the name of the hospital, but in Delhi, I had gone to meet a doctor and I was right outside the ICU. And the guards were having a physical fight with this two men and one woman who had come with like 1,000 roses and they wanted to enter the ICU with it.
Oh my Lord.
And it was terrible. And they just couldn't understand, bacterial infection and, the idea of resistant it just, and they were educated. So it's a very, very pricey, expensive hospital, in fact. And I was amazed.
That would need a separate podcast about
Yes, it would. It
relatives
really
coming to
would.
hospitals.
Yeah. Even when babies are born, I had a gynecologist say this to me. I found it so interesting that um, half the babies after they get born, they end up with infections because all the relatives have landed up. And from like all spheres of life. She's like, they'll come from far away, some village in Bihar, and they would have taken the train. They won't take a bath. They'll just come and, go and meet as if, we're living in a pristine environment. And it's
Absolutely
quite something.
true.
So tell me one last thing. You talked about reassurance, and there is nothing, nothing like a doctor's reassurance, except sometimes maybe a plumber's reassurance as well. That helps. But supposing someone is in a lot of pain right now, they haven't reached a doctor in time, and they're going through treatment. I do know that spinal treatment, when it's very, very serious, causes a lot of pain and you get so demoralized. It's also very common for people to stop treatment or not go back or just give up. you know you don't you're waiting for death now. You don't want to proceed. Is there something you can do to motivate them or say to motivate?
So absolutely. So see, what happens is the pain is because there's some pathology. Your nerve is getting pressed. So there has to be a reason. It's either a bone out bone, it's a broken bone, it's an infected bone, or it's a displaced bone or a displaced disc. So it's spinal pain cause, unless you have rheumatoid arthritis, is usually mechanical.
Mm.
Mechanical problems in the body have mechanical solutions. So if your roof is falling down, you can't paint it. You have to support it. So when your back is aching, you have a slip disc, your nerve is getting pressed. So then you either do physiotherapy, make yourself strong, and then the whole thing gets automatically sorted, or you have to then physically go in and remove. Uh, and majority, when I say majority, up to 95 to 98% people are very satisfied with modern spine
Mm.
surgical interventions. In fact, we have operated, the oldest patient we operated was our anesthetist's aunt. She was 95 when we operated. She's
Wow.
98 now. She's got 8 screws in her back and a little bit of cement to hold it because she had a fractured bone. She agreed to surgery 3 months after her fracture because she was bed bound by that. She said, "Okay, अभी मरना ही है तो ये करके करो क्योंकि अभी मैं सो के नहीं रह सकती हूँ."
That's
So it's
amazing.
like that. So people don't want
That's
to
so
do it in
inspiring. Yeah.
this. Yeah. So the revision surgery was a 92-year-old doctor. He's the alumni of the same medical college I passed out from, KEM Hospital. He passed out in 1948. We operated him when he was 92 years old. It was his second spine surgery. He lived till 100.
Wow.
And he was a walking 100. He wasn't
Yeah.
bedridden. He would go down to the
Yeah.
park, walk. So quality of life does improve remarkably.
Mm.
uh, People in India, unfortunately, गारंटी दीजिए. So it's like, see, 100% गारंटी एक तो भगवान देता है या तो झूठ बोलने वाला देता है, but majority should do really well.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for everything you shared. It was so interesting. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here. Great talking to you.
A friend of mine asked me quite recently, are you sick of talking to doctors? Because I spend my time talking to doctors and talking about diseases and sitting outside hospitals waiting for appointments. And I really thought about it and I said, no. Because, like every other human being, every doctor has a different experience, a different expertise, a different view. And for me, it's like painting a very beautiful picture where, little pieces of wisdoms and anecdotes come together and they help me feel extremely connected to not my health or my body, but to every single organ. And I think that's important because when you see health as this broad, generic thing, it gets too much. It's like one of those things that belongs in the newspaper headlines only. But when you break it down and you start learning about every organ, every body part, every disease, and it's significant. It's a lot. I'm not saying do an MBBS, but even the simplicity and the basic facts about these organs, you start realizing they're there. Some of them we know, like gut health, everyone is talking about. So, everybody is suddenly, interested in poop pills, and we will do an episode on poop transplant soon. But then you've forgotten about the gallbladder, the poor little gallbladder. Everyone's like, no one even knows what it does. And, I will do an episode on that too one day. But get that connection to every part of you. That's when, you start realizing that health is not that big a thing. It's actually small, and a lot of things that benefit the health of one organ tend to spill over to another one. So I have something which I call the organ organizer, which is I list out which organ I'm going to be looking at which day. So I have my spine. I'm still not completely aware of it, but I do take our time to do these spinal postures in yoga. And it is beautiful. I mean, I cannot tell you. Just takes 5 minutes. We spend longer finding Google Map directions, so that 5 minutes is there. You just do a cat cow posture or Surya Namaskar, and you feel the power of your spine as it elongates. You feel light, you feel almost feline like, and it's for a minute you are within yourself, You're not living in an environment, you're living within. And I think that's so important. It makes you calmer, it makes you take ownership of your health. And you remember to give tender loving care to all body organs then. How do you deal with owning your health and looking after yourself? And is there anything more annoying than waking up to a stiff shoulder? Um, Except perhaps Mr. Trump's election campaign and global warming. Um, but do let us know your health thoughts and your health journey. We are available on every social media platform you can think of, and you can write to us at pods@indiatoday.com. And if you feel like going old school, then please message us. We are there on 8588966996. And if you enjoyed this episode and if you learned something about the beauty that's your body, then please leave us a good rating. We are there on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube Music.